What's going on, y'all? What's going on? Welcome to another episode of the Maroon Bison Presents
Southern Comfort Podcast.
That's right. Say it with your chest.
Southern Comfort Podcast.
Want to thank you all for the support and listening as we move along down this podcast highway. Kev, how you feeling, bro?
I'm feeling good. Nothing to complain about. You know, life is good. God is good. I'm still trying to figure out like what's happening around the country because like everywhere I go, it's still cold, and I'm not really understanding why.
Right,
it's still chilly.
It's summer.
Right. Well, right.
Supposedly, what they say is summer.
Yeah.
You know what they say is global warming.
It's a real thing, and it's you know. It's real because I was just in New Hampshire, and we beat snow by like 2 days. So 2 days after we left, it snowed, and I mean this was May. It's crazy.
Yeah,
it's crazy. Yeah.
That's insane.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I mean, so what? Summer brings on cookouts. Summer brings on warm weather and concert season, right?
Yes.
I think the biggest concert out right now is Cowboy Carter.
It is. They've been fighting this year.
Fighting?
They've been fighting at the Beyoncé concert.
Over what?
I don't know. But they've been acting up. I mean, you already paid all that money to get in there, so I don't know what you mad at now.
Why are you gonna pay some money to get out of jail?
Right. You don't have bail money because you spent it all getting them tickets.
You spent the rent money on the tickets.
Yeah, no, but they but you know, it's good to see, you know. We love Beyonce, but
yeah, I have unfortunately, or fortunately, however you want to look at it, I've actually never been to a Beyonce concert.
I've seen her twice. We went to see her in Amsterdam, which was good, and the reason we went to Amsterdam was because it was cheaper than buying tickets in the United States. It was cheaper for us to go to Amsterdam and see her there, and we could get better seats.
I don't get it. I don't. Like, why do they cost so much?
I mean, because she's just at that point in her career. Like every artist, I feel like they get to that. Not every artist, but like the really, really big artists, you hit that little stride where you could put out an album singing the phone book and it's gonna sell. You can charge people whatever you want to come see you, and she just in that era.
Do you think if the great one was still alive, Michael Jackson?
I was about to say, what you mean, Prince or Michael Jackson?
Well, see, Prince was throwing free concerts.
Yeah,
at Paisley Park, right?
Yeah,
like all you had to do was just show up.
That's true. Yeah.
So again, like if you think they were still alive, do you think they would be holding a tour or concerts where it costs that much? Now, the London show that he was supposed to do before, the This Is It.
I don't think they would be charging. I don't think they would be charging that much. I think they are past that window. I think they may have done the equivalent when they were in that stage of their career. But Michael, I don't even know if Michael would even still be performing because, and this is going to be real. Like, oh boy, I hope I don't get excommunicated on this one. But like, I love Janet Jackson. But part of the reason I'm not going to see her, even though she's back out touring, is because to me, like, I can see the age, and it's like she up there doing Zumba moves. And like, I love her, but it's not like the Janet we used to. And so like, I don't even know that Michael, because of what we expect, there's no way for him to not do it the way he was doing it. And it's also unrealistic to expect him to continue doing that as an older man. Yeah. So I don't even know that Michael would even still be singing.
Well, I'm still waiting for him to come back as Thriller. So one day we'll find out. Yeah, I just, we'll see.
Yeah.
I know.
So you're not going to go see Beyonce this time?
Probably not.
Yeah.
I can't justify spending. But there aren't many folks that I would pay an absorbent amount of money to go see. I mean, we all know Outkast will be one of them.
Yeah, I was about to say you saving your money for Outkast.
Sure.
Yeah,
If they decide to.
they gonna do something.
If they decide to.
I have faith. I have hope.
But yeah, man, and when they did their concert in Centennial Park, I dropped the VIP price for it.
Mm-hmm.
Most definitely. It was no question. But I think that was at the most was like $150, $200.
Okay, well, when they come back, it won't be that.
Oh, it'll be more.
It'll maybe be, oof.
It'll be 500. I'm
for VIP. Maybe 1,500, 2,500.
So look, Young Jeezy is doing a Thug Motivation 101 20th anniversary tour.
Yeah.
And I checked, and I think VIP tickets for that I was seeing around starting like $400.
Yeah. See, I would pay that.
Yeah, I mean it comes with other stuff.
Yeah,
like a vinyl album.
Yeah.
He got like a jacket. You know what I'm saying? So stuff that comes with it. I don't know what will come in the Cowboy Carter VIP package. Are you getting the liquor, the hat, some boots? You know, like I don't know.
I don't know.
You know, some...
I know it's a good show because when we saw her in Amsterdam, she was incredible. And then I saw her with when she was with Jay-Z, out with Jay-Z. What was that, the On the Run tour or something? And that was good too. But what was interesting, I also saw Jay-Z and Justin Timberlake, and that show flowed better than the Jay-Z Beyonce. The Jay-Z Beyonce show was very much two separate shows. It was just Beyonce and then Jay-Z, right? But with Justin Timberlake, it just kind of like flowed like it was really one show. And I didn't anticipate that going in because at first I was like, what's this going to be like, Justin Timberlake and Jay-Z? But it actually worked.
Did Jay-Z... One thing that I did, I went to a Jay-Z, Mary J. Blige show.
See, my wife won't go to see Mary J. Blige with me.
What? I love old auntie with the same dance moves. Like
I mean...
It's a dancery.
It's always like what Mary... in her mind, it's like, what Mary are we getting? What are these vocals about to sound like?
It don't matter. It's a dancery.
I know. And it's just, I mean, I don't know. We'll get it there one day.
You know, but with the Jay-Z show, the Jay-Z portion of the show, he never finishes his songs. He does like a snippet of his hits.
I think it's too many.
I don't give what it is. I want you to finish the song.
You trying to be there for 5 hours?
You can, that's why you have a set list. You only play your most rocking hits for a concert. But he was like giving you 15 seconds or 30 seconds. And it's just like, that's it.
You can't even really get in the song good and then switch it. Yeah. I like when we saw Chris Brown, he had this interesting approach. He has like, he actually does have like a lot of songs.
He has a great show.
And so what he would do is he would put like 2 songs up on the screen and he would make the crowd cheer for which one they wanted him to do. And that's how he kind of weeded out can't sing all these songs because we don't even have a venue for that long for me to sing all these songs. But like, I'm gonna let y'all pick. And I thought that was a very interesting way to do it, and also a testament to him as a live performer. Because if he's actually following that, you don't know from night to night what they're gonna pick. Yeah. But you just gotta be ready to go into it. Yeah. So he was good, not as good as Usher, but he was good.
Listen, I did Usher show here in Atlanta.
Yeah, man.
And I finally got to see it because I didn't get to see him in Vegas.
Yeah, yeah. Whew. It was like homecoming at the strip club.
Yes.
That's what it's like we had homecoming at a strip club. That's what that show was like. It was incredible.
But nonetheless, I think who else is coming? Like Lenny Kravitz is on tour. John Legend always does a tour.
Yeah, I want to see Lenny again.
Never seen him. Would love to see him.
He's definitely worth it. It's a good show. I was trying to...
Twice we talked about Lenny.
Yeah.
It might be 3 times.
We should write him and get him on the show. He would...
only one condition.
What?
Like, no see-through shirt.
No see-through shirts. None of that.
Mesh.
None of that. And then my wife will finally be here then for sure.
I love to smoke with Lenny.
I don't think he smoked. You think he smoked?
Definitely smoke. Your boy, who
He
was
seems more like an edible
who
person.
was the running back? Ricky Williams.
Yeah. Oh,
Ricky Williams credits his whole
from Lenny Kravitz.
from Lenny. He went on tour with Lenny Kravitz.
Wow.
He went on tour with Lenny Kravitz.
Wow.
I remember I heard that.
I mean, and you know, weed is natural, but he just seems like such a naturalist. I would be like I just thought he'd be like, I don't, smoke's not good. So I just figured he just did edibles or some shit.
I love to smoke with Lenny. I love to smoke with Lenny. Not that I smoke, but if I did smoke,
Right.
I love to smoke with Lenny. I love to smoke with Lenny, 2 Chainz.
Yeah.
I shared a blunt with Jeezy once.
You did.
I did.
And what was that like?
It was actually he was on stage. Actually, I shared it with Lloyd. This was at Morehouse, and I can tell on myself now because I'm out of school. I was working security for a homecoming concert, and was making sure backstage was all secure. And Lloyd was sitting right there to the side.
Yeah.
And Drama was still DJing. And one of my homeboys, who I just let back there, sparked a blunt up.
Wow.
Smoked it and passed it to Lloyd. Lloyd hit it, passed it to me. I was like, fuck it. Smoked it. And then Jeezy comes off stage and Lloyd goes up. Jeezy hits it, passes it back to me.
Wow.
I hit it again, and then a fight breaks out in the middle of the crowd.
Because security was high.
Probably.
Not watching. Yeah.
But my roommate and my best friend, LeJon James.
I'm sorry. What?
LeJon James. Yes. His name is LeJon James.
Okay. All right.
He, for some reason, decides to jump over the security gate and break up the fight. And so,
Well, no, for some reason, security was high.
but not when you are.
You thought you was running,
Bro,
but
we-
in fact,
we were
nothing was
college
happening.
students. What you want us to secure? We were just there, just you know what I'm
Exactly.
saying. But he go up and break up the fight, and of course, being you know who I am, I take the blunt, drop it, and beeline it not around the stage, but I could walk right in on the stage, right past Jeezy,
Oh my
and
God.
hop down and just jump over. They'll break up the fight. So, you know.
Oh man,
But enough about
that's crazy.
my days,
You
my
had
youthful days.
you done had 9 million jobs.
Yeah, you know,
You're right.
qualified to do many things.
Yes, you did everything from Planned Parenthood to security.
Security,
Yeah,
you know, DJ,
yeah.
hype man, front man, you know what I'm saying? A promoter. I even sold articles of clothing. Like, what you want? Landscaping?
Right.
You know? Like, yeah. Like,
Farmer.
why not? I definitely
Yeah,
farming.
a
You know what I'm
farmer.
saying?
Yeah.
But, and now I'm a podcast host.
Yes, you
know?
are a podcaster now. You can add that to the bio,
To the bio.
to the Twitter bio.
Regular old Renaissance man. But, you know, switching gears and putting on my podcast hat, you know, we're still storytellers. You sent me an article earlier this week about the Cook Political Report by Amy Walter. And it was basically a comprehensive data analysis as to why Harris lost in 2024, right? And like this puts all the other, you know, other theories to bed. Black woman, Biden's and his team's negligence, right? Like it delves into the numbers and actually breaks down, you know, based on the numbers of what that looked like. And I thought it was very interesting, right? Like the most striking thing from that I gathered was basically their one main role was to turn out super voters.
Right.
And they did that, but that's all they really turned out, right?
Yep.
But the super voters did not show up to the degree they did in previous elections, mainly 2020.
They did. Right.
I think it was said something along 30 million people did not vote in this election that voted in 2020. And to do the stark difference, I think, of the new voters that came out, it was only 26 million new voters that came out. So there's like a 4 million deficit in
of
terms
those super voters.
of those super voters.
And then you didn't have as many infrequent voters.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So you had a smaller, more diverse electorate, and usually what that tells you is two contradictory things. Usually, if the electorate is smaller, that tends to be better for Republicans, but if the electorate is more diverse, that tends to be better for Democrats. And so you had a situation here where it was possible that one was going to cancel out the other.
Yeah.
But part of what happened though, is that while the electorate was smaller and it was also more diverse, but Trump did better with diverse voters, right? Because that was one of the other findings. We lost ground with a lot of ground with Latino men. We lost ground with Latino women, which isn't talked about as much. We lost ground with the AAPI community. We lost ground with black men. And the only group that was consistent and steady was black women.
Right.
But it's not just, and when we say we lost ground with them, we're not just talking about turnout. We're talking about the percentage of them that voted for Trump. They didn't just stay home. They showed up. They just voted for Trump.
And so what you're talking about in this dramatic shift, most people wanted to say white men voted or shifted. No.
Yeah.
So you mentioned Latinos. I think Latinos were at 12% shift voting Republican. You mentioned black men. Black men were a 7% shift voting Republican. Right. Also, it begs the question. You of course you mentioned black women. Women themselves as a whole didn't move or really didn't mobilize for her. Right.
No.
Latino women kind of shifted towards Republican a little bit, or some just didn't turn out.
Yeah.
They're part of that 30 million that didn't come out.
Right.
But when we get to black women, you have, Kamala Harris, who is both African American and Asian American. But the needle didn't move and net anything in a positive nor a negative, right? It just stayed steady, which is alarming, right? And you look at it and say, well, what went on there? Face value, it looked like black women were going to turn out. Face value, you thought women were going to turn out as a whole. But it was not the case.
No, it wasn't. And it was, and that's like, you saw similar trends with Hillary as well, where it being a woman on the ticket wasn't in and of itself a motivator for you to see increased turnout with women. And so, it's troubling, but these reports are always good because until we get all the data in and can actually look at it and break it down, everybody just has a hypothesis or about what they think happened. But it's very good to see the numbers, and I think it's very sobering, which is that we have slippage, everywhere. It's broad and it's deep. And it's multifaceted why all of this is occurring and why these folks are kind of pulling away from the Democratic Party and the Democratic brand. I think it's more than about one candidate. And I think if we just say, oh, well, this was a Joe Biden or a Kamala Harris thing, we're gonna really miss it. Like this is, people are rejecting the brand, and unless we figure out a way to really make all these inroads, this combination of numbers, particularly as the country gets more and more diverse, if we allow this trend to continue, like it'll lock us out of elections.
Well, I mean, it speaks to, right, like the strategy that we've been playing this whole time, right? And we're going to kind of delve in as we go down the road in more episodes. We're going to kind of delve into it more in terms of coalition building, right? It is safe to say that the long-held assumption as you build campaigns or make sure your math is built through coalition turnout. That is no longer the case, right? Even the younger voters, you know, culturally, you thought Harris caught fire and caught wind with younger voters. They also did not move the needle as well as they thought you would in terms of electoral support. So I think her strategy really backfired when it came to thinking that, all we need to do is turn out dedicated Dems or high frequency voters.
Yeah.
Right.
And I wonder how much of it too was like, maybe that's all they thought they had time to do. It was a 3-month campaign for her. The electorate, in terms of what was happening on the Democratic side, was like in shambles because of what happened with Joe Biden having to step aside. So like maybe they decided to do this narrow strategy because that's what they felt like they had time to do. I don't completely buy that because, again, you know, she inherited an infrastructure, but it was still infrastructure. So like that infrastructure should have been in position to do the work anyway. It's just a different name at the top of the ticket. It's more so messaging that you have to change, you know what I mean? But like infrastructure wise, to actually be in these communities organizing, because that should have been able to happen before she became our nominee. Because even with her being the nominee, we're still having to organize and push through in the context of Joe Biden's last 4 years. We were the incumbents, right? Even though it was Kamala, we were still the incumbents. It's still going to be a referendum election on us. So that infrastructure should have always been talking to them. So like, I don't know. Maybe the criticism is that they should have changed course. Maybe they didn't change course because they couldn't, because they only had 3 months. I don't know.
But the question is, and we touched on this time and time again, what was the infrastructure? Is it based off of Biden? Or are we still trying to hold on to an Obama infrastructure that really wasn't truly there to begin with, right? And so if it's based off Biden, that was infrastructure based on a couple of false narratives, right? You had them just wanting to get rid of Trump, and then you also had COVID, right? And so,
and people talk about the Obama like coalition and one, like, yes, that is the template. That has been the template since 2008, really maybe 2006 when we got we had a good midterm. But that has been the formula since 2008, right? Everybody wants to rebuild the Obama coalition. But since Obama left, I don't really see where anybody put the infrastructure in place to actually turn that coalition out. And it yes, he had a certain appeal that is unique, right? And for the timing that he was running, that was very much a part of it. But I don't see where any other campaigns really invested in the infrastructure the way he did. And you and I were both on Hillary's campaign, but yes, that was a place where we were lacking. There was not as the field budgets were slim.
The field budgets were slim. But
2020, we didn't have it.
Unlike a lot of other primary races, I will say, and because I was a part of it,
right?
Hillary did try to invest early in terms of trying to create a new set of coalition. She wanted to build off what there once was under Obama, but wanted to kind of continue picking up the institutionalism of Democrats, right? The old Clinton years. Want to remind you, hey, we could get back to those years. Those were great years. But also building off of what was there with Obama and sort of that cult following that was behind Hillary, because there was a following behind her. I just don't understand where we got so complacent. Actually, we got complacent in thinking that you're just going to be there because that's what you're supposed to do, right? This is not a sports franchise, right? folks are loyal to being a Dallas Cowboy fan. Folks are loyal
You
to
have
being.
to be.
You have to be.
To yeah.
But they have right. You look at the I guess the blue blood sports franchises: the Steelers, Yankees, Cowboys,
My sorry ass Lakers. Yeah.
Lakers.
Yeah.
Right. The Braves.
Yeah.
Right. You're going to be loyal through thick and thin. But it's not the case in politics, right? Like, and you would think something that is. Again, sports is like an opiate to the masses, but you would think with politics, something that is your livelihood determines how much you get paid. It determines, what the economy is like. It determines, price settings, housing, affordable housing, education, right? Healthcare. You would think that you would have a better following or flock of party loyalists on the Democrat side, but it doesn't show in elections. It does with Republicans.
Yeah, and as strategists, right, we're jealous all the time because they literally can just say anything and like their people are gonna be there, no matter what. Whereas we have to actually try to put thought into this. It's not as easy as it seems, but but also you raise a good point too that I always point to is that like voters are transactional. All right. And even when I'm advising candidates and helping them with their messaging, one of the things I always say to them is that, get to the why, right? You have to tell people what you're going to do for them. You got to tell people why you're the best person. Do not assume that they're going to sit here and just weed through all of that and figure it out. You got to, like Vernon Jordan would say, you got to make it plain to people. And I would say voters are transactional. And so even when you are debating, as an example, right, you don't want to look like a politician up there fighting because voters, they tune out to that. You want to always remember and center them and talk about what you're going to do for them and to help their lives. And they are very transactional. But what's happening with these numbers, particularly in the communities of color, is that if you got that wrong, the worst that would happen is that they wouldn't turn out, right? We are now dealing with a different paradigm where they will vote for the other party. They will vote for the other party. And you look at these numbers that we just talked about, don't get it twisted. There's a lot of folks of color who wanted to also vote the same way, but now feel like, oh, it's okay, I could have. I stuck with it, and then there's a lot of them that if they had showed up would have voted that way too. And so I just feel like we can't be short-sighted in the data when we look at this data and we try to plot what the future is, right? We can't say stuff like, well, it was just Kamala. Well, it was just 3 months. Well, it's just because the nominee was a woman. No, we have structural problems with our brand. It is specific and unique within each of these communities. You can't do a one-size-fits-all with them. And we also are not good yet at communicating with them and meeting them where they are. And that's the work that the party is going to have to be doing. Instead of, I hope, what we're not doing is just saying, well, we're going to have a primary in 2028, and then from that primary, some leader is going to emerge, and then they'll fix it. No, it won't matter who the nominee is if you don't fix these structural problems with the brand.
And I think one of the numbers that was discussed in one of the set of numbers that was discussed in this report was that for the first time, the Democratic turnout support of new voters dropped below 50%.
Right. We lost it.
We lost it.
We used to always win new voters, and they're different than infrequent voters, but in an adjacent sort of pot, and that's where we used to always get our margins: infrequent voters and new voters. Right. So that adds another layer to it, right? Of the diverse electorate that showed up, we didn't perform as well there as we normally do. You lost infrequent voters. Not just Trump narrowed the gap, right? You lost them, right? And then
which points to messaging.
Which I think messaging and the brand.
Yeah.
You know, and the brand, right, as well. So, you know, you can't. That it literally is death by 1,000 cuts. And when you look at the raw number, we didn't lose by that many actual votes. But and one way to look at this data too is you could look at it and say, well, given what a brand was, given that she only had 3 months, it's amazing that she got that damn close, right? That's one way to look at it, but I still feel like that's also taking the easy way out, right? Like we got problems.
I wanted, and we rarely do this.
Mm-hmm.
How many voters do we lose to mortality?
To who?
Or death? Right. It doesn't speak to that because there was a, you know, because of COVID. Because I mean, we lost my brother during that time, right? Like I lost several family members. Right. Of that 30 million, you know, what was the percentage of death, and primarily were they African American women, men?
Well, you know, we're gonna, you know, sadly, you know, the disparity numbers. We do know that from COVID, right? So we're gonna oversample for that, and you know, it would be interesting. And we were talking about how many jobs you've had before, so maybe now you put on your political scientist hack and do a little study there, and you can report back on the podcast what the overlap is there.
Listen, I'm retired. I'm retired from that profession. No, I mean, again, right, healthcare disparities is another, I speak to it here in Georgia primarily, particularly in the Atlanta elections. We've always referred to the mayor's race in Atlanta as a Maynard Jackson voter, right? Maynard Jackson was the first African-American mayor of Atlanta, you know, was very, you know, instrumental in party politics, and he had a machine. It is what has kept the mayor and representatives from Atlanta being predominantly African-American for the last 50 years, 50 plus years, right? And so, you know, now that the demographics has shifted, Atlanta is no longer a majority African-American city. We're probably looking at our last term as having a black mayor. It's always been in question, right? That machine has died out because, you know, that block that held down for so long of black voters are dying out. They're being forced out to move out of the city because they can't afford it anymore, right? And that speaks to volumes. Atlanta's had nothing but black mayors, but the city itself and the wealth gap is, you know, one of the rates amongst the highest in the country.
Yeah, yeah.
And so, again, that just goes to show you that branding that you speak about and you talk about so many times has fallen to the wayside because we get complacent in thinking that one star can carry the water or the mantle for an entire organization.
Yeah, yeah.
Which is not the case, right?
No, it's not. And, you know, but I do think that there are some, while it is complex, while it's not one size fits all, there are some commonalities that I think we should really hone in on. And that is, I think, particularly with all of those minority groups, right? The reason we lost ground with them is that for various reasons, right? I don't think that we are credible to them, to the working class of those groups, right? Whether it's, you know, white working class in Iowa, you take a big diverse state like Michigan, right? That we lost, right? Well, the same reason we underperformed in some of those maybe rural areas of Michigan is the same reason that we underperformed in the inner core of Detroit City, right?
Right.
Working class people did not believe that Democrats would fight hard enough for them on the things that they cared about, and so they took a chance with Trump. And I don't get that, right? Intellectually, I don't get that because you guys lived through him the first time and he didn't do such a great job with the economy. But, you know, like we always say, our job is to analyze the electorate, not judge it. In their estimation, with their vote, right, the Democrats aren't really doing enough or pushing hard enough on these issues, and so I'm going to try it with Trump. And there's certain stuff, right, that's going to resonate and that's going to stick, right? Because, you know, in this next election, I don't think people realize, too, that, like, Trump has changed the dynamics, even on immigration, as an example, right? The truth is, people are not crossing the border like they were.
Right.
They're not. Like, those bad...
Are they
those
not
things
crossing the border because of fear or because of...
all of the above. It's a different tone that he set. And so you go into some of those border towns and you talk to even some of the Democrats that live there, and even they're like, yeah, it's better under Trump. You know, so we're gonna have, and what it is, and I use that as an example because it just looks like he came in, he took action, and got something done. And a lot of times he's doing just a bunch of bravado, and there's nothing really behind it, like all those executive orders. But you know, and he's getting into some trouble now with tariffs, right? But what I always tell people is that one thing's for sure, a couple things for sure about political science: when Republicans get power, they're always going to get into trouble because they're always going to overreach. They're always going to do more than what they were sent there to do. And that's what's happening now with Trump. Nobody asked him to get in there and do tariffs and all this other stuff. He's just doing it, and you've seen his numbers take a hit. But Democrats have the other problem. Democrats get power, and they don't do enough.
I was going to say, when have Democrats had power?
You know, but no, we've had the White House, we've had the presidency, we've had these things, and people felt like you guys don't do enough. And even the most recent successful 2-term presidency that we've had, it would have been Obama. I would say that only started looking really, really good, maybe like his 6th year, because he had the benefit of all of the things that he did in those first 2 years, it actually starting to hit people. And so he looks good historically, but folks wasn't messing with us that much for the majority of that presidency. People were kind of like, I don't know about this dude.
Well, I think, one, it just goes to show you, like, voters want action. They don't care about the results. They just want to see you doing something. Right? Like, it's almost like Carl Anthony Towns.
And I can't wait to hear this. In what way is it like Carl Anthony Towns?
He looked like he's doing a lot on the court with his movements. But, you know what I'm saying? He be coming up short, baby.
Man, I saw him drive. He did some drive. No, he made it that time. He did some drive, and then he got fouled. But I was like, I couldn't tell where he was going with it. Like, what is he doing? Like, oh, you're driving to the basket. That's what you're doing. Okay, it's I don't know.
Just all that extra movement.
It's kind of like when a horse starts like bucking, and like it's kind of just running, and you don't really know where it's going, and you're like, oh, that's where the horse is going. Like, that's what it's like watching him drive a basketball.
Oh man, sorry, Dre. Dre's back in the studio, y'all. So,
little Nick's humor.
But you know, I guess looking at like this analysis suggests, from a strategic implication point, it suggests that both parties need to fundamentally rethink their approaches on things, right? Like the Republicans now have a roadmap for expanding beyond their base, and they've shown that it works. Can they keep that up? But the Democrats themselves need to totally stop assuming that the demographic trend is going to curry and be in their favor.
In and of itself.
Right?
That all we have to do is just let the country get blacker and browner, and then we'll start winning elections. Yeah.
Yes, it's no longer the case.
Yep.
And so the era of coalition building, I think, is at a cross juncture, right? Where we have to really rethink and retool how we approach things from a messaging standpoint. But in the same light, we have to rethink and retool how we develop new leaders who are going to help turn out the vote on the ground.
Yeah, and prioritizing that again and centering that, right? Because like when we talk about the Obama coalition, what made that work so beautiful and so impactful is that infrastructure matched the opportunity.
Right.
And whereas we just see the opportunity, like, oh, if this coalition turns out for us, we win, right? We're just looking at the opportunity, but we're not marrying the infrastructure with it to be able to make it a reality. And I think the other thing, too, is that we always talk about this too. Is like the thinking has to change within the party, right? The party sees this as, oh, that's the base. We do get out the vote to them later, right? What they got to understand though is that these numbers tell you what folks have been trying to say in these rooms for years to the status quo and the powers that be that control the money and the funding, which is not diverse people.
Right.
But you need diverse people to win, but the people making the spending decisions are not diverse. But what we've been trying to tell them for years is that you have to treat these communities the same way you treat swing voters. The amount of resources and obsession that you have with whether or not you're going to get suburban white women to vote for Democrats, you have to give that same attention to black men. You have to give that same attention now to Latino. And you better give it to black women too.
Right.
Because while their numbers didn't slip here, right, there was still a lot of opportunity to grow that we didn't capitalize on, right? Same with the AAPI community, and I can't tell you how many races that we've been a part of that we've won just because we advertised and did outreach in Spanish or in Korean or whatever the language, or just meeting people where they are. A lot of times we were the only candidate that's doing that, right? And so we have to invest resources and think about those communities as swing voters, because guess what? They actually are now. They actually are. They are showing you that they will vote Republican.
Do you think if the campaign had an extra 45 days, would that have been enough?
No, because I think people's impression of the Democratic brand was so defined, and the impression of Donald Trump was very defined. I don't know what would have happened in 45 days. Donald Trump said I could blow somebody's brains out in Times Square and still get elected. And it might be the last thing he said that was the truth.
Yeah. Who defined the Democratic Party? Was it the Democratic Party's lack of that, or was it more so allowing Trump to amplify?
I just think we got in our own head, and I think we violated a rule, right? And we said this earlier, right? Like, our job as strategists is to analyze the electorate and not judge it.
Mm-hmm.
And we kept trying to want to tell people and kind of rest on the fact, well, he's racist. They're going to reject him. You shouldn't vote for him because he's racist or he's this or he's that. Instead of just, that to me speaks of judgment of the electorate instead of like, look, he's a racist, but they're still willing to vote for him. Perhaps we should ponder why the hell that is.
Well, see, but I made that argument on the Warren campaign when I think we were in debate prep, and someone said, well, we can mention that he's a racist. I was like, what does that mean?
What does that mean?
To black people, everybody's racist. That means nothing. Right? Like, we think most of the people in the Democratic Party are racist.
We would. There are definitely moments and times where absolutely we would say the same. We would say the same exact thing. You got people who go to work every day and deal with like racist bosses,
all the
work
time.
for racist companies, shop in racist stores because they have to, because that's surviving, right? And so to just say, and I was just, and that was one of my big takeaways from Hillary, right, and why we lost that one. In short, we spent too much time telling people why they shouldn't vote for Donald Trump, and not enough time telling them why they should vote for us. And so people would ask us a question about our platform and what we were going to do, and we would say, yeah, but he's a racist. Well, I didn't ask you that. I know he's a racist. I'm trying to figure out, though, why I should vote for you.
Right.
And so Democrats have to, instead of...
It's the why.
We have to get to the why they should vote for us, and we have to swing very hard in that lane, and we got to do it in a culturally competent way, and we got to stop making assumptions about these communities. And if you really want to be a coalition party, you got to actually build coalitions.
Right. Well, you guys are about to hear that timer, which lets us know and signals to us that it's time to bring this topic to a close. We are going to continue this conversation. Primarily, in it, we kind of touched on it a little bit, was the Obama coalition and what that really means to elections nowadays. And, you know, is it doing more damage now, now that we're faced with a new era of campaigning? But we are, as always, we like to close things out with a dedication to one of the greatest ever lace 'em up on the court, Kobe Bean Bryant, and anyone that taps into the Mamba mentality. And it's always difficult sometimes thinking of conjuring up because you want to give a good one. I'm going to kind of close out the spring and entering the summer. There's been a lot of graduations going on. So I want to give it to all the graduates out there, particularly, especially the ones from all the HBCUs and their struggles that we know y'all are going through coming out of a black college, where there's financial aid, where there's, you know, administrative problems. We know the hurdles of coming out of HBCU. So, you know, I'm glad you guys were able to bear down and get her done and get out of your institution. So congratulations, the hat goes off. This is your time to shine as you enter the world. And we hope you guys are going to continue to rally on and fight on in terms of your field. Yeah.
See, you always think I steal yours, but I was thinking about something very similar, which is that I was just going to give it to all the universities, particularly Howard, of course, because we just graduated like our largest class, and it is needed to continue building that pipeline of just black talent. But not just Howard, really like all of the universities that are really standing up and pushing back, because we talk a lot about just little pockets of resistance. Yeah. And so I extend that even to like a Harvard that's really entangled in some battles with this administration right now, but they're standing firm to what they believe are their values, and they're doing the things that are supposed to happen. Like college campuses are supposed to be about expression and thought. That's why they are there. You know what I'm saying? In many ways. And so all of the universities right now that are just doing great work, you know, graduating people who think and who are thinkers. Yeah. We need it. Right, we need it with all that's going on. So that's why I give my my Mamba moment to.
Shouts out to the new leaders of not only America but the entire world. Right.
Yep. Yeah.
Let's keep it going.
Yep.
All right. So until next time, I appreciate you guys for listening. As always, subscribe to the YouTube channel at Maroon Bison. You can follow me at big _ Rich ATL, I believe.
I think you say something different every time. All kinds of people getting tagged.
But you know where to find me. I appreciate y'all. Kevin, last words?
No. Love y'all. We'll talk again soon.
Peace.
Peace.